Hey, what's going on, guys? Room Gaming here, back another video. Today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Hydra build for Diablo 4 Season 9. So let's first talk about our catalyst. So in our catalyst, we're going to be using Disintegrate. And Disintegrate is going to be used because it gives us a lot of long, consistent damage. Now, the damage is really nice, but really actually the main thing we're going for here is that slow percent. So enemies within the beam are going to be slowed by 50%. So this is going to allow you to kind of kite efficiently and effectively and apply consistent damage. Now, for our infusion, we're going to be running Smoldering Ember. And this is going to be really good because this is going to transform lightning damage bonus that we get from our Enchantment Master into fire. So if you're not sure what Enchantment Master is, it's going to be right here on the screen. So your enchantments are 30% stronger, and each equipped enchantment grants 40% increased damage with their main element and 20% increased damage for the second enchantment if it is the same element. So we'll be able to, again, take all that lightning damage and just kind of funnel that into a more fire damage. Now, for your Arcana, you'll be running Tranquil Stone. This is going to grant us our unstoppable effect to get out of snares, of course. We're also going to be running Fractured Core. So this is going to help you really deal with those damage reduction champions. So we're seeing this on a lot of builds right now, because when you do run into these, honestly, it's like a brick wall. So this is going to help us mitigate that. And then finally, we'll be running a Bloody Charm. And this is just going to kind of work as a damage multiplier for us. And it's going to work on everything except for bosses. Okay, moving on to our best in slot Hordric Jewels. So we'll be running Idol from Below. It'll give us a really good stat line, and it's going to periodically spawn elites for just additional pit progression. So it's going to give us a little bit of armor, actually a lot of armor, 120 armor, 6% resist to all elements, primary core stat, max life. Overall, just a really good jewel to run. We're also going to be running a Scornful Light. So very similar to the last one. Again, mostly just a stat stick here. And this one's going to funnel into our elemental damage. And the last one we're running here is the Horn. And the Horn is actually really nice because this is going to be really good for summon type builds, which is exactly what this build is, right? You're summoning a whole bunch of Hydra heads. And just to read it out here at the bottom, after you injure or kill an enemy, your summons are empowered, growing larger and dealing more damage for 4 seconds. Moving on to our skills. So our main skill that we're going to be running here is Hydra. This is going to be our main source of damage. And if you are running Invoked Hydra with it, this is going to give it even more damage and help you reach that high critical strike chance. The next skill we'll be running here is Inferno. And the main reason we're running Inferno is to just kind of group mobs up. And this is also going to be what applies a vulnerable for us as well. So this is going to be a very good source of damage, and it's just going to kind of prep the group before we really start hammering our modifiers into them, right? We're going to group them up, apply vulnerable, and then start stacking our modifiers. Our main mobility skill is going to be Teleport, and this is also going to be another way that we can apply Unstoppable as well. So we got 2 ways that we can apply it right now. We're also going to be running Ice Armor. So pretty standard in most builds. Going to be a good defensive option for us. Again, Hydra's doing most of our damage, so everything else is just going to kind of funnel into staying alive for the most part. So we're going to be doing that with Ice Armor as well as our Flame Shield here. So just read this out and engulf yourself in flames for 2 seconds, burning enemies around you for 40% damage per second. And then while Flame Shield is active, you are immune. Then our final skill here is going to be Ice Blades. And the main reason we're running this is for increased attack speed, and it also does help us with some of our single target damage. We'll leave a link in the description of the video if you want to go through all of the specific talents. So make sure to check that out if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the tree. Now, another big reason that we're running Ice Blades is because we want to keep up our primordial bindings. So if you do go into the tree that we linked, this is going to be something that you're putting points into. This is going to give us that summon damage for our Hydra build, and then some mana regen and movement speed. This stacks up to 10 times. So we want to stack our Ice Blade as much as we possibly can. So just kind of keep that in mind. For our enchantments, we're going to be running a Teleport enchantment. So Evade is replaced with a short range teleport on a short cooldown. This version of teleport does not make you unstoppable. So depending if you do take this enchantment or not, I know earlier we said that teleport would make us unstoppable. It just depends though if you want to run this enchantment or not. Again, just going to replace your evade with an additional teleport. And then we also have the familiar enchantment. So each time you summon a conjuration that isn't a familiar, you have a 25% chance to summon a familiar of the same element. So the reason that we're running this is because this is going to allow us to benefit from that invoke familiar that we talked about earlier without actually having to cast the skill. Moving on to runes. So these are going to be the 2 runes that we're running. So the first one here, you're going to gain 100 offering when you maintain at least 1 summon for 5 seconds. So this is summon build, so this is a really good one to run. And we're gonna be gaining offering for each up to 6 summons. So once we built up all that offering, we'll be spending it on this rune. So it's gonna summon a Spirit Wolf Companion to attack enemies for 8 seconds. So this is actually an exploit in the game, and they call it the Infinite Dogs exploit. And this is basically going to give you an endless supply of wolves. Now, the main reason that we want this is due to primordial binding. These wolves will actually generate stacks of primordial binding for us. And they will also apply vulnerable and chill effects. Now, this is going to be your next option in runes. To avoid health damage while fighting for 2 seconds should be fairly easy to do, since we have so much slow in this build and we're kind of able to kite back. And this will be our Rune of Invocation here. So reduce your active ultimate cooldown by 1 second. So this is going to allow us to get more uptime on our Inferno. And you normally can't argue with more uptime on your ultimate. In terms of the aspects that you're going to be winning, first one's going to be the Snow Veiled aspect. You're going to be putting this on your helmet. So our ice armor will make us unstoppable, and this will give us some CDR as well. We're running aspect of concentration on our chest armor. Since we're just casting so many conjuration skills, we're going to be able to get a lot of damage reduction out of this. The next one we'll be running is the flash fire aspect. Since our Hydras do count as a pyromancy skill. Up next, we'll be running axial conduit on our pants. And axial conduit is going to be really good for us if we remember earlier from our infusion. So we're running Smoldering Ember, and that's going to be taking all of our enchantment damage, or excuse me, all of our lightning damage, and convert that into fire damage. So very, very important, a very strong item in this build. Up next, we'll be running Aspect of the Orange Herald. So this is going to give us a little bit more CDR on our ultimate, so can't really argue with that. On our main hand, we'll be running the Serpentine Aspect. This is going to give us increased damage from our Hydras. And of course, the more mana that you have, the more damage that you'll do. And then probably one of the stronger items in this build, probably the strongest to be honest, is the Ophidian Iris here. So casted Hydras have a +2 heads, and then Hydra is now going to be a core skill for us. And then the Hydra's attacks will actually explode on impact. Then at the bottom here, each head above 3, the Hydra instead grows larger and deals increased damage. So just an absolutely insane damage amp to our Hydras. This is probably going to be the main unique that you should go for. We'll also be running the Iridescent Loop. So casting Pyromancy Shock or Frost skill increases your damage dealt for 8 seconds, stacking once per element. So we're running all of these in this specific build, right? Because our teleport will count as the shock skill. And then finally, the last aspect we'll be running here is the Storm Swell aspect, where you will deal increased damage with your ice armor up. Okay, then in terms of our glyphs, so we'll be running a Conjurer. This is mainly going to increase our conjuration skill damage. Up next, we'll be running Destruction. This is going to increase our critical strike damage, which critical strike is very important in this build. But the good thing about this build is it's very easy to hit 100% critical strike. You'll be getting most of your critical strike through either skills, even the Conjure that we just talked about, that grants some critical strike. Your Invoked Hydra is going to grant critical strike. It's very easy to hit the critical strike cap in this build. So yeah, you'll be running Destruction for that increased critical strike damage. We'll also be running Tactician. So since we are running several defensive skills in this build, we're going to get a little bit more damage amp from Tactician. We'll also be running Elementalist. So dealing fire, cold, or lightning damage to an enemy increases all damage you deal to them by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking once per element. So we're benefiting from all 3 of those with the skills that we're running. So very easy to proc this as well. And then finally here, Pyromaniac. So every pyromancy skill you cast, or every second you channel Incinerate, increases your fire damage by 3% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 18%. So more fire damage, more Hydra damage. All right, guys, that's me in this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next one.